Okay, hello, good morning everyone. My name is Benita and I'm a dietitian from Singapore General Hospital. So in line with today's event, my topic is called Go Easy on the Salt. Ta-da! Okay. So here is an outline of what I'll actually be talking about today. I'll be starting off with a brief introduction on hypertension, followed by explaining the relationship between sodium and high blood pressure, and the nutrients that have an impact on blood pressure. So just some very brief definition. Hypertension is known as having high blood pressure, where pressure in the blood vessels becomes too high, mainly more than 140/90 mmHg, as what we've heard earlier as well. Okay, so statistics-wise, because earlier there was also some statistics. So worldwide, about 1.28 billion adults aged 30 to 79 years old have hypertension. And understand that earlier on there was also some that said that 1 in 4 people or 1 in 3 people in Singapore, around 37% of our population aged 18 to 74 years old have hypertension. So you might be actually wondering, what are some of the factors that can actually contribute to hypertension? So these factors can actually be split into the non-modifiable, which means that these are factors that you cannot change, as well as the modifiable factors, which are factors that you can change. So non-modifiable risk factors that can actually increase your risk of developing high blood pressure include factors such as your family history, age. So if you're more than 65 years old, you may have a higher chance of developing hypertension. If you have coexisting diseases, ethnicity, as well as gender. And for modifiable factors that you can change, it will include factors such as your diet, leading a sedentary lifestyle, meaning that you have little to no physical activity, if you're smoking, or if you're taking alcohol, or if you are overweight or obese. Okay, so just moving on to talk about the relationship between sodium and blood pressure. So there are actually many available evidence that suggests a correlation between sodium and blood pressure. And by having excessive sodium consumption, which means that more than 5 grams of sodium per day, there is evidence that shows that it can increase your blood pressure, linking this to the onset of high blood pressure and also causing other cardiovascular complications. So the suggested relationship between sodium and blood pressure is that sodium can increase your water retention, which actually increases the blood flow in your arteries, which then increases the pressure in your blood vessels, and this can eventually lead to damage in your blood vessels. So an interesting fact is that 9 in 10 Singaporeans actually exceed the daily sodium recommendation. Okay, so the consequences of exceeding your sodium intake actually will actually include having a significant increase in your blood pressure, having fluid retention, you might feel more thirsty, and this will also lead to the onset of hypertension and cardiovascular complications as well. The benefits of controlling sodium intake is that there will be reduced blood pressure and the risk of developing hypertension will also be lower. There will also be reduced risk of you developing cardiovascular complications. So what exactly is sodium? So sodium is actually a mineral that makes up about 40% of salt. And sodium is actually important for us because it helps us with normal nerve and muscle function, and it also helps to maintain a proper balance of water and minerals in our body. So as a dietitian, these are some of the common dietary misconceptions that I do come across daily at work. First of all, some of my patients will tell me, I already asked the store for less salt in my meal, so it's will be okay one. Next would be that I've heard that meat is higher in salt, so I prefer to take chicken or fish. And third misconception would be, when I taste the food, it's not salty, thus there's no salt. And last but not least, wow, it sounds like sodium is quite scary. So does this mean that I can't use salt in your cooking? So to debunk these misconceptions, let's start with finding out the sources of sodium. So as seen here in this slide, sodium is actually naturally found in all our food. Our fruits, our vegetables, things like meat, fish, or chicken, like your bread, your rice, already contain sodium. And if let's say you're cooking or if you're at the table, then you add seasonings, you add salt, that's another source of sodium. And if let's say you do eat processed or canned food, that's another source of sodium as well. So this is the sodium content in our common food. So let's take a look at this, okay? So basically, for white rice, okay, the one bowl here, right, actually refers to the one Chinese rice bowl. You know the chicken rice bowl that you see in the hawker center? Yeah, that's the bowl that we refer to. So one Chinese rice bowl of white rice contains about 10 milligrams of sodium. It's not that bad. Then if you take a look at like the bihun and the kway teow, you see that there is one bowl is around 16 to 24 milligrams of sodium. But if let's say you take yellow noodles, that one bowl is 1,500 milligrams of sodium. To debunk the dietary misconception about saying that meat is higher in salt, if you take a look at the chicken, the beef, the pork, and the fish, which is up there, sorry, like I wasn't able to highlight it, around 100 grams is around like 40 to 100 milligrams of sodium. And actually, a source of protein that I often like my patients to include in their diet actually includes canned tuna, which is the one at the bottom. But what I found out over the years as a dietitian is that all of them, or most of them, will actually prefer the flavored variety. So if you see the tomato chili one, 100 grams provides about 430 milligrams of sodium. But if we compare it to the water variety, it actually only contains about 150 milligrams of sodium per 100 grams. And if you just take a look at the processed foods, such as, like chicken nuggets or luncheon meat, around 6 pieces of chicken nugget, it's about 780 milligrams of sodium. And one slice of luncheon meat, around 50 grams, is about 390 milligrams of sodium. Fruits and vegetables have very little sodium, like less than 10 milligrams of sodium. And if you see like the dried fruits, like the dried guava there, or like the salted cabbage or ikan bilis, those are actually quite sodium rich as well. Okay, this is not meant to scare you, by the way, okay? It's just to let you guys know. Okay, so I talked so much about all this content, right? One day, all of us are actually recommended to have 2,000 milligrams of sodium, and that's actually equivalent to 1 teaspoon of salt, or if you are using light soya sauce, 6 teaspoons of light soya sauce would be equivalent to about 2,000 milligrams of sodium. And if you are using the less sodium light soya sauce version, around 8 teaspoons would be around 2,000 milligrams of sodium. So remember the 2,000 milligram number. If we go back here, if you take the yellow noodles, that one bowl, it already meets 3/4 of your daily allowance. If you take your luncheon meat, it already meets about 1/4 of your daily allowance, okay? Okay. So these are just some of the common condiments that we use in our daily cooking. As mentioned earlier, 1 teaspoon of salt would be around 2,000 milligrams of sodium. Light soya sauce and dark soya sauce, 1 teaspoon is around 200 to 250 milligrams of sodium. For oyster sauce, 1 teaspoon is around 190 milligrams. And for stock powder, 1 teaspoon is 920 milligrams of sodium. So if we think back to 2,000 milligrams of sodium, that already meets half. Last but not least, it would be fish sauce. So 1 teaspoon gives about 300 milligrams of sodium. Okay, so then how much are you allowed to have, right? If like, oh, I'm only allowed this much of sodium. Okay, so right, if let's say someone eats like 2 slices of bread in the morning for breakfast, okay? For lunch and for dinner, they eat that whole 1 Chinese rice bowl of rice, plus maybe 100 grams of meat, fish, or chicken, cooked weight, plus maybe like 1 serve of vegetables, a serve of fruit. We haven't added any salt, haven't added any seasonings yet. Maybe we just steam everything together. That would already give meet about half of our daily allowance. So about 1,000 milligrams of sodium already, which means that for your salt and your seasonings, you have the remaining half of the teaspoon to try and flavor your food with. Doesn't sound that bad, right? So usually for my patients that say, then I just don't use any salt lah. No lah, that's not the way. We don't want you to suffer also ma. Still want you all to eat happily. So we are just trying to say that, hey, you have at least half a teaspoon of salt or maybe 3 teaspoons of light soy sauce to try and flavor your food with. Okay, so tips to reduce your sodium intake then. Usually, what I would say to my patients is that when they're cooking at home, instead of adding salt, instead of adding seasonings first, you use your natural condiments like your pepper, garlic, onion, chili, lemon, okay? You stir fry first lah, or like, you steam it, it's fine. And then after that, you see, hey, it actually tastes okay. And then if let's say you find like, okay, it's just missing something, that's when you add a little bit of salt, a little bit of sauce to try and flavor the food up. Okay, when you go grocery shopping, always look out for the healthier choice symbol on your food package or the seasonings. So that triangle sign there with the lower in sodium claim right there. And if, when you guys go grocery shopping, on your food packages, there will also be some of like the nutritional claims, like no added salt, no salt added, unsalted, right? These kind of things. Don't worry, I'll go through with you in a bit. So no added salt, no salt added and unsalted. What it means is that for that food, there is no sodium chloride or like any sodium compound that's added to the food. For salt-free or sodium-free, it means that per 100 grams of that food, there is less than or equal to 5 milligrams of sodium. For the nutritional claim, which states low in salt, low sodium, low salt, or lightly salted, per 100 grams of the food, it means that there is less than or equal to 120 milligrams of sodium. And for very low in salt or sodium, it means that per 100 grams, there is less than or equal to 40 milligrams of sodium. Last but not least, the one that says reduce salt, lower in salt, or lower in sodium, what it means is that compared to the reference food, it contains more than or equal to 25% less sodium. Okay, so during grocery shopping, you will also look out for the hidden sources of salt, looking at the ingredients list. So sometimes my patients would tell me, the salt I use at home is better. It's like Himalayan pink salt, or it's sea salt. But I'm sorry to say that even though it's pink salt, or it's sea salt, or like rock salt, these are still salt, and these are still sources of sodium. And apart from these common names, sometimes it can also be listed as vegetable salt, or like even things like monosodium glutamate, also known as MSG. Okay, when you go grocery shopping, right, you can also learn to check out the sodium content on the Nutrition Information Panel, also known as the NIP. So usually, the food product would have this table at the back, and this is an example of a Nutrition Information Panel of a stock cube. So on the left-hand side of the panel, right, you would see that, hey, there's nutrients listed, like energy, protein, fat, as well as sodium. And on the right-hand side, there will actually be 2 columns, the per 100 grams column, as well as the per serving column. At the top of the Nutrition Information Panel, it will also indicate the number of serving size and like the number of servings of this food product, as well as the serving size as well. So if we look at this together, about 1/5 cube of this stock cube is the serving size, and it actually provides 342 milligrams of sodium, okay? Okay. You can also use the NIP to actually compare the sodium content of a food or seasoning across different brands. So, for example, we'll just be comparing the sodium content between brand A and brand B, okay? So usually, what I would do is that I would look at the sodium content per 100 grams, okay? Just to see, like, is it brand A or brand B that actually has less sodium? So the winner is actually brand A, because as you can see, per 100 grams, it only provides 17,000 milligrams of sodium, while for brand B, 100 grams of that stock cube provides about 18,000 milligrams of sodium. in truth, no one would use 100 grams of stock cube when they're cooking lah. Okay, another tip to reduce your sodium intake would also be to, when you're eating out, to just make some mindful changes. So for example, instead of going for your dry noodles or your fried noodles, go for your soup noodles instead, but don't drink the soup. You drink like 1-2 spoons, I'm okay, but not the whole bowl lah, okay? So yeah, and because the vendors at the store, the cooks, basically, they tend to be more liberal with their seasonings for the fried, like the dry noodles or the fried noodles. Okay, whenever you can, try to not take the yellow or instant noodles because these contain more sodium. Take like the bihun, kway teow, mee tai mak, tanghun variety instead, okay? Processed ingredients like fish ball, fish cake, luncheon meat, hot dog, these are not sources of protein, and these contain a lot of sodium. So our suggestion is to choose fresh ingredients. Choose like, fresh meat, fish, chicken, egg, tofu, or tau kwa. Okay, instead of going, wow, I want more gravy for my rice dishes, try not to ask for extra gravy, okay? And then last but not least, sometimes, the vendor might ask you, oh, you want ikan bilis, you want green chili, okay, try to not take lah. Then you take the fresh garnishes, so like those kind of coriander, spring onion, red chili, I'm okay. If you want to take, the red chili with the soy sauce, right, then you just put at the side. You just dip a bit, we're okay. We're not trying to tell you, just don't take sodium at all lah. Just do it sparingly and obviously, and of course in moderation. Okay, so another common question I always get would be about salt substitutes. Okay, so salt substitutes, what is it? It's actually lower sodium salt. It replaces about 30% of the sodium chloride in salt with potassium or magnesium chloride. Like many other subjects, salt substitutes also have their pros and their cons. My advice would be that you don't need the salt substitutes. You don't need to switch to it. After all, we've gone through so long already together to learn about the lower sodium diet together, right? And honestly, it takes about 3 weeks for your taste buds to become accustomed to a lower sodium diet. And the lower sodium diet actually is applicable for everyone, including your grandchildren, your children. So in a way, it goes a long way, okay? Salt substitutes are also not recommended for individuals with certain medications as well as kidney conditions. So if you're unsure of whether, should I still use salt substitutes or not, do just check in with your dietitian just to make sure, just to ask, okay? Okay. So apart from following a low sodium diet, it's also important that you have a well-balanced diet to meet your requirements and to maintain your weight. So you can use the My Healthy Plate concept. I'm sure many of you have seen this before, right? Okay, I see some heads nodding. So 1/4 of your plate should come from your starches, the brown rice, wholemeal bread, those are your starches. Another 1/4 of your plate should be from your meat, your fish, your chicken, which is basically your protein sources. And the remaining half of the plate will be from your fruits and from your vegetables. Okay, so it's important that you also have enough calories to maintain your weight. Not too much, not too little, but enough to maintain your weight. And factors that actually affect energy needs actually include factors such as your age, your gender, your activity levels, and your medical conditions, if any. So sources of energy actually include macronutrients such as carbohydrates like your rice, your bread, your noodles, your biscuits, protein like your meat, your fish, your chicken, eggs, tofu, or tau kwa, as well as fats, which are heart-healthy oils like your olive oil, sunflower oil, canola oil, and soft margarine. So do consult a dietitian for any individualized energy needs. For protein. Okay. Protein is also another macronutrient which is important to grow and maintain the structure and function of our organs. It's also important for bone mass gain and to also help to preserve our bone and muscle mass with aging as well. So like our energy requirements, our protein requirements are also dependent on factors such as our age, our physical activity levels, as well as medical conditions, if any. And as a guide, adults aged 19 to 50 years old or more than 51 years old and above, we actually need around 3 serves of protein per day, okay? So sources of protein actually include, as mentioned earlier, our meat, our fish, our chicken, dairy products, eggs, tofu or tau kwa, as well as nuts as well. So 1 serve of protein can be 1 palm-sized piece of meat, fish or chicken, okay, around 90 grams cooked weight. Otherwise, it's 3 eggs, or if you like seafood, 5 medium prawns is 1 serve of protein. Okay. So for fruits and vegetables, they are important to ensure that you have enough fiber, enough vitamins, enough minerals. Try to get 2 serves of fruits and vegetables a day. So 1 serve of fruit is actually 1 small apple or orange or pear or like a small mango. If not, it's 10 grapes, or what I would like to tell my patients would be just 1 handful of grapes, okay? Or like 1 slice of watermelon, or like 1 wedge of papaya or honeydew or rock melon. For vegetables, 1 serve is around 3/4 cup of cooked weight, around 100 grams lah. Then if let's say you're looking at the plate, right, about 1/4 of your round plate of cooked vegetables would be around 1 serve. And if you like salad, about 100 grams lah. It's around 1 serve of vegetables. Okay, for alcohol will actually damage your kidney and heart arteries, which increases the risk of developing stroke and heart attacks. So our advice is to always avoid alcohol entirely. However, if you do drink alcohol, then do limit your alcohol to no more than 2 standard drinks a day for men, and for women, it will be 1 standard drink a day. So 1 standard drink is like 220 ml or 2/3 can beer. Otherwise, it's 100 ml or half a glass of wine, or 30 ml or 1 shot of hard liquor. Okay, so in summary, to keep within your daily sodium intake during cooking, try to always use natural condiments to flavor your food first before adding your salt as well as seasonings. When you go grocery shopping, look out for the healthier choice symbol. Also look out for the hidden sources of salt. At the same time, also try to practice seeing the nutrition information panel. And when you're eating out, choose healthier options as well. So ensure that you eat enough to meet your energy requirements to maintain a healthy weight, and adopt a healthy, balanced diet through the My Healthy Plate concept, and ensure adequate protein intake, and ensure adequate fruits and vegetables intake. Limit the alcohol intake, and do remember that there is no one-size diet that fits all. All the requirements are individualized as well. So for any individualized dietary advice, do obtain a referral to see a dietitian. Thank you. Okay.